Hey, so we are glad to add this new segment that we have. It's called Tips That You Should Know. In this economy, we have a lot of things that are going on and we're trying to save money. And I have with us today, I have one of our Salem members, and she is amazing. You all already know her. She's an usher, she's a greeter, she's a volunteer for pastoral care. She does everything, she's everywhere. Aldeana Harris, woohoo! Woman of God, thank you for being with us today. Hey, so I want you to tell our audience a little bit about your background. Tell us why I asked you, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the story of why we got into this conversation today.
Okay. I've always been creative, always liked to fix things. That's been me all my whole life. I see something wrong, I want to make it right. I'm always interested and curious about how things work. I was at Home Depot for over 25 years, and that just brought out every creative thing in me. I learned how to put up a fan. I learned how to install a toilet, a faucet. I learned the difference between green, red, and black wiring. And the more I learned, the more I was eager to learn. I also they offered me to go to school to get a bachelor's degree in retail management, which I did, and I did graduate, and I thank God for that. I also have a in the museum in Atlanta, I actually have a picture up of my accomplishments at Home Depot that I'll always be proud of. And I've always been interested in fixing things and seeing what makes them tick, and then teaching it to everybody that I know to help them be able to do a DIY, which is the most easiest thing to do instead of hiring contractors or anything like that. A lot of things, simple things you could do yourself.
Well, that is amazing because, quite frankly, I can do absolutely nothing. So, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to let you guys know how we got into this conversation. One day, I think we were right after a funeral and we were just talking. No, I think no, actually, we were doing immunizations that day. And we got to talking about all of these things that Miss Harris knew about cleaning and painting and ways of saving money. And I don't know about you guys, but in this environment where we have gas that is off the chain, where retail food is, you can hardly get a bag of groceries for, less than $60. I wanted her to come on and give us some tips that we should know for cleaning and some things that we can save on. And so I asked her to come and talk to us about that today. So why don't you begin to share with us about one of the things that you wanted us to know?
Oh, one of the things that I want to talk about is pots and pans. And, it comes a time that we all do things, we scorch the pots and pans. It could be cheese, it could be vegetables, it could be oatmeal, and it leaves the black on the bottom of the pan. And no matter how you scrub it, you cannot get that out. And you end up most of the time throwing it away. Well, actually, there's a simple remedy to that. When you scorch a pan, take it off the stove, fill it with 1 part water. We could say 1 cup water, 1 cup of white vinegar. Put it on the stove on medium heat and let it boil for about 10 to 15 minutes. You want to get a good boil on there. Once it starts to boil, you're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Just regular baking soda. You're going to let it boil maybe 2 more minutes. That's it. Then take it off the stove, let it sit there 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And you're going to, before it cools, you can get a knife or a spatula, a good spatula, and you can start scraping the bottom of the pot, and it will lift up so easily that it will amaze you. And once it starts to lift up and you get the majority of it off, pour the water out. Then you take your scouring pad and you just scrub the rest of it out. brand new pot, never knew it was burnt.
Are you kidding me? Is that easy? Are you
That
kidding
easy.
me?
That easy.
You know how many times that you have burned pots, and oftentimes you just kind of you have to live with that, and it's just that easy to do, and it doesn't cost you much, and everything that you have in your house. That's amazing. When did you learn that?
I learned that actually, I just did that recently since I've been in Kansas City. My nephew burnt my mother's pot, and it was one of her good ones, and she was really upset. And you'll be surprised how natural ingredients does a lot. So I always remember what vinegar was good for, and it's good for cleaning. It's good for, and with it being good for cleaning, I just started mixing together. And a lot of things you go on and you look it up too, just to make sure that they work together. So I wanted to make sure that I could put vinegar with the baking soda because I knew what both of them did, and I did. I looked it up, and it agreed with me. Like, yeah, that is a good thing to do, and I just cleaned her pot because I wanted her to be happy and I wanted my nephew not to be in trouble. So that was a lesson for myself, and it was a lesson that for my mom for future, and a growing experience for my nephew.
Thank you for saving his butt, and thank you for saving your mom's pot. And thank you for saving us, because I can think of times in which it's frustrating to have like a bird in the pot, and then you scrub and scrub and scrub and then trying to get that out. And that sounds so much easier than that constant scrubbing and the scratching that winds up happening to the bottom of your pot. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. What's tip number two?
My tip, we going this is DIY time, and we're going into summer, and everybody loves to paint. Paint is my favorite. When I worked at Home Depot as a manager, I ran the paint department, and I learned everything that was possible to learn about paint. And my favorite thing that I always tell people, if you're going to paint your home, it is value. It's your equity. It's what you put into it. And what you don't want to do is use the cheapest paint out there. You want to be secure in the paint that you use. You want to make sure that it's scrubbable. You want to make sure that it doesn't come off. You want to make sure that it's shine. And there's steps to doing that, to making sure that you apply this paint correctly. I love Bear paint. I've tried Sherman Williams. I've tried Lowe's, but I love Bear paint because it does exactly what it says it's going to do, and it's guaranteed. And that's why I like Bear paint. There's different kind. There's Ultra. There's Premium. There's Bear Marquee. My favorite is Bear Marquee, which is one of the most expensive paints, but in a home, it's worth it. And when you start to paint, it's very important that when you go out here and you spending $40 and $50 for a gallon of paint, the paint should do exactly what the can says it should do. But you must get the tools that they ask you to get. There are certain brushes that you can use. You can't just get any kind of brush. One of the best brushes to use is a nylon polyester brush, because the quality of the nylon polyester is the best. It adheres to the brush. It's smoother to go onto the wall. You have to be careful in your brushes. You don't want to go buy a $50 can of paint and then you're going to use a $3 roller. It's just like buying a Mercedes and then going to Amoco and have them fix it. You don't want to do that.
That is a good point. That's a great point. I think sometimes when we're trying to do that, that self management, project, we think that it doesn't matter if I've got the expensive paint. Why should I have the brush? And then they have those brushes right in front of the paints. So it's confusing. You don't really know that you need a more expensive brush. Why is that?
And it's not the expensive brush, it's the quality of the brush to do the job that you need done. That's what you're going for, because each brush, you have synthetic brushes, you have polyester, you have nylon, then you have the blend of brushes. One of my favorite brushes that everybody like to use, I call it the barbecue brush. It's really good for wood staining. It's not good for painting the walls at all. And you don't want to use those brushes. And when you're not sure, the best thing to do is ask a paint associate, ask somebody that's in that department, and they'll be able to walk you through each paintbrush that you should use, because it's very important of the paintbrushes that you use. Also, in choosing your paintbrush, it's the same thing with your rollers. You don't want to go buy a dollar roller to paint your wall with, because what will happen with once you put the paint in there and you roll it, what's going to happen is once you put it on your wall, the little fuzzy things are going to come off the roller, and they will be on your wall, and you, once the paint dries, you will see that. So it's imperative that you talk with someone in paint if you're not sure. Also, I recommend Google will always tell you what, depending on the kind of paint you got, latex, acrylic, it'll tell you what paintbrush to use, what roller to use, what size to use. Most paint, in Bear paint, I like is because it covers 250 to 400 square feet. That means you could paint a whole room with a gallon of paint. That's basically what that means. And there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to use that 1 gallon with the right tools to paint that room of 250 to 400 square feet. So be very particular when you're picking up a roller. Speak to somebody if you don't know. If there's nobody to talk to, Google it. Google will tell you exactly what paintbrush, and it's imperative that you use the correct paintbrushes as well as the correct tape to use.
That's good to know. That's a really good tip, particularly as we're going to be painting in the summer. What's another tip that you can give us? Because we're going to go on with 5 tips today. So, what's another good tip for us today?
Another tip is crud cutter. That's one of my favorites. I always say that every female should have a bottle crud cutter in her household.
What
That's
about
something.
the guys?
I didn't hear you.
What about the guys?
Well, men too. Men too. Don't get me wrong. This is for men too.
Okay.
Women, I say women because I'm a woman, but men can use it too. This is a tip for men too.
Okay.
Crud cutter cleans everything. Everything. If you get paint on the floor, spray it with crud cutter. You get paint on your clothes, spray it immediately with crud cutter. Wipe it off, dab it off, it'll come off. You can use it in your wash. You can, you might be having communion and you spill some on the carpet. Crud cutter, a cloth. I would say a cotton cloth would be good to use. And all you have to do is just dab it. You never wipe it. You just dab it. Just keep dabbing, keep dabbing. If you have to keep spraying, keep spraying. You keep dabbing until you get that communion out of your carpet. It will come out. The same thing with your furniture. If it's cloth furniture, and you know how our children are and our grandchildren, they're going to drop something, spill something, something's going to happen. This you can spray directly on there, and then you can start to dab it off, and it will come off. It removes so many different things. You can use it for, it removes crayons, it removes ink off the wall, it removes. And if you have good paint on your wall, one thing about good paint and crud cutter, they kind of work simultaneously together, because it won't color the paint on your wall, nor would it make the paint come off. And when you have good paint, it's not the ceiling, it's not gonna allow it to cover, to fade on your wall. So there's two good things working for you. But crud cutter, every woman should have, because it's good for any spill, anything, dabbing it, it would definitely come off.
And where would you pick up that? Is that like at Walmart? Is it at just at Home Depot? Or I mean, where would you pick that up
In
from? And how much would that cost?
Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. It runs about $6.95. I
Yes.
actually there's different variety of cutters. It's actually a more because they have a degreaser also, and it's also a cleaner. I would say to start off with is the original crud cutter. That's what you wanted to say. Original crud cutter that works it works for everything. And they also have degreasers if you
Okay.
need a degreaser.
That sounds great. What's another tip for us? What do you
Uh,
suggest?
Actually, it's a simple tip. It's a simple one that you can get at the dollar store, and it's
Okay.
called Awesome. That's the name of it. It's called Awesome, and Awesome is just that, awesome. Now, for the young men and the men out there that love their gym shoes to be white and they love to keep them clean, Awesome is the perfect cleaner for that. All you need is a towel and some Awesome. And all you do is spray your towel, or you could just spray it directly on the shoe. It does not change the color. It does not do anything, especially around the edges where you need that white because you don't walked on them. It will clean that shoe back to the new look. And it is when I say awesome, it is awesome for cleaning. The basic thing I use awesome for is just that for my gym shoes. I love my gym shoes. If they're white, I want them to stay white. If they're black, I want to clean them up. I just want to clean them up. Leather, you can clean them up. It's just a simple wipe on and wipe off, and it keeps your shoes in good condition. And you set them up, you just let them dry, and they look brand new again.
I've never thought about using Awesome for that because I use Awesome to clean around the house, but I never thought about using that for gym shoes, particularly to keep white gym shoes white. That is amazing. One more tip. Why don't you share with us one more tip today?
Another tip I want to share is a lot of people, like I said, are doing DIYs. You're doing. This is the time of the year to get out there and do a lot of things. Another thing that's really good to do this time of year is painting your garage. A lot of people like to paint the floors of their garage. Well, there's particular things that you could use. They have what you call paint and floor, which is good. And then they have garage paint. Now, there's a difference between the two. A garage paint is more like an epoxy. And when you put that on the floor, you might see sometimes where they put the sprinkles down with it. That is awesome. And if you don't want to just do your garage with this epoxy, you could also do your basement floor. And it's the sealant, the longevity. I used to do it in my paint department. I would paint the inside of the paint department floor so that I could show the customers how this works. And I will put the sprinkles down that comes with it, and it's the longevity that it has. You do have to etch, you do have to clean prior to painting your garage or basement floor because you want to clean it up and you want to make sure it's smooth. You want to make sure everything is right. But once you have done that, which is on the box, and it's so important that you read the instructions. The directions is so important. I know a lot of people like to take the shortcut and say, "Hey, I just know how to do this." No, it's not that. It's not as simple as that because you need to do certain things prior to, and it's called preparation. And you want to etch it and you want to clean it. But once you start to paint your floor, and once you see the what comes up, the amazing shine, the way it looks, you will be much appreciated and it lasts a long time. And yes, there is garage paint that you can drive on that you'll be able to pull in that would not stick to your tires, that would not come up. But you have to follow directions on that.
Wow, that's great to know. And I guess you could use it for maybe if you had an event, maybe your event got rained out, in the backyard, and I guess you could pull it right into the garage and if you pulled your cars out and made sure that the floor was clean, you could have an indoor thing. That is wonderful. Uh,
Especially
Great.
in basements.
Yeah,
Especially, it's really good on basement floors. It's really good to use on basement floors. Yes, and it
that's
gives it such beauty.
Wow, I've never thought about that. Is there a bonus thing that you can give us today? And then we're going to close this out, this segment. I'm so thrilled that you have been sharing with us in these economic times that we need this kind of information the most, and so appreciative of your expertise. What else do you want to share? One bonus thing for us.
Always remember that a task you may want to do, it may seem hard, but it's not. It's really simple. You get the information, like I said, Google things. Some places have books that you can read on how to do. There's classes. I know Home Depot has classes, and if they're offering these classes, take them. Take the classes, they're free. And they're teaching you how to hang your ceiling fan. They're teaching you how to paint your outside furniture. They're teaching you these things for free. It's DIY classes. Always take those classes, because you'll be surprised at what you think you can't do, that you will master. And that's my greatest tip for today.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you were able to really benefit some Salem tips to know with our wonderful member, all around expert. She is in everything and everywhere. And I'm just so grateful to you for joining and giving us this expertise today. God bless you for helping us to save some money and to do some things in our home. And we really appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on Tips to Know. God bless you.